Do you have trouble growing your calves? Most people do, and most often they're going to name genetics as a reason as to why that is. But from what I see in the gym, that's not usually the case. So for today, I'm going to go over proper setup so that we're not leaving anything on the table, giving you some cues to really maximize contraction so that we can get as much muscle gain as possible, and some troubleshooting so any of those usual problems that people run into, we can go ahead and nip that in the bud. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's move over here and we'll go ahead over the setup. So let's get started with the setup here, guys. So first things first, I like to get firmly planted onto the bench. Not much you need to change here. But first things first, I'm gonna get this thing set up at a height where I can just wedge my toes in with my knees. So I'm getting the balls of my feet set up onto the foot bar on the bottom, ball of the foot right at the furthest part back so I can feel the ball of my foot right on there. I'm gonna grab here, this is already kind of tight, and I'm gonna shove my knees underneath, getting a hard plant underneath the weight. So from there, everything will stay exactly straight up through the middle so that we're only pushing through the feet. And then let's go over how that's gonna look once we actually have some weight on there. So now that we have ourselves set up, let's go through how the motion should exactly be looking and what exactly we're looking for. So first things first, this is one of those exercises where the stretch will really help with growth. So let's go ahead and maximize that stretch down at the bottom, really sink into it and allow yourself the time in there to really feel it. So a negative for a calf raise should take 2 to 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, pause in that stretch and then rebound. So that's the first thing right there. That will increase the time under tension, increase the total amount of work being done. And then the second part of that is going to be the ankles forward cue to really kick the top end contractions up. Oh, shitload. So most people will just go through the motions. They'll feel a little bit of a squeeze up at the top. They'll be going through it like this. So push the foot bar as far down as you can. Get it as far away from you as possible. You're going to start the movement by pushing the feet down. That makes sense to everybody. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. Once we get to this spot and you feel like you can't push your toes down any further, I want you to imagine that the back of your ankles is going through your leg. So pushing the ankles forward to get that last little millimeter of height. Doesn't look like a lot on camera. I promise you it will feel like a lot though. So calf raises are going to be one of those exercises where it's great to push into higher rep ranges. If you want to think about it like this, it's one of those muscles that is chronically activated because it's activating with every step that you take every day of your life. A lot of people will ask, why do fat people have huge calves? It's because they're lugging around a little bit more weight than you on a daily basis, which creates a whole lot of progressive overload over the course of a few decades. That's where that comes from. So it's going to be one of those slower twitch muscles that responds really well to high reps and a massive lactic acid burn. That's the big concern of why people usually don't get the results they're looking for, because things like the calves, quads, and abs hurt a ton to push them to failure in higher rep ranges where they're really going to grow. Most people don't get growth from those areas because they're not willing to do that type of work. So personally, I would load a calf raise with some type of intensity technique to make sure that you're really pushing towards failure for more advanced people. But for the average person, something in the 10 to 25 rep range to actual muscle failure, perfect. And by actual muscle failure, I'm going to show you what I mean here soon of what a real max failure set is going to look like. But these exercises are so stabilized and so safe that there's really no risk of injury. Go ahead and push them until the wheels fall off. Those 25 reps should feel like they're killing you. So this is how it's going to look at full speed, real max effort set. So you can see how a grinder is going to look, exactly what I'm talking about with how the calves are very slow twitch and how you can push them way further than you'd probably think. So good setup. We're going to get the balls of the feet set up right on that pad. Shove the knees underneath, get some leverage in there and feel the tension being created, and then just press straight up. Get started with that rep number 1. 1, 2, 3, down, feel the stretch. 1, 2, 3. And the entire way down, I am trying to feel that tension going through the calves and not allowing myself to give in or dive bomb through it. If I'm not actively feeling the tension, that means that the muscle's not really working to its fullest capacity, and I'm leaving stuff on the table. So yet again, we're gonna keep grinding out those reps, and now that it's getting hard, I'm going to try thinking about ankles forward here. Grind it through to the top, ankles forward. Grind it through to the top, ankles forward. Fuck. And I think that's enough. Fuck. The calves hurt way more than any muscle group, in my opinion, by far, bar none. If you want them to grow and you hit them like that, they will grow, I promise you.